purpose of Israel going into the land? What were they supposed to do? Be a light. They weren't supposed to go in and receive rain. Right? They were going to, because it says they will. But what was the purpose? And what is our purpose?
To spread his word.
Give him the glory. Because he does things for his name's sake. Good and bad.
And like in the end, he says, so that none shall perish.
Because that's his goal.
Right.
Gabriel.
So,
It's all about, it better be all about him, right? Gabriel.
knowing that God does everything for his glory, I guess I just asked the deeper question, why is God interested in glorifying himself? Not that, I mean, he shouldn't be, but I mean, like, why is that?
Why would you go to something that is not glory?
Right.
That answers your question.
Probably also would help if we understand what glory really means.
So he's glorifying himself so that we're drawn to him. So at the end of the day, everything that he's doing, because he loves you so much, is in your interest. It's not, so I guess I want to really draw out that the reason God is glorifying himself is so that you will come to him because he loves you.
So he can glorify you.
Right, because he loves you so much and he's really cool and he wants you to know him. Not just so, look at me, I can be worshipped. I'm glorified. I'll kill you all and then I'll be glorified. There's a purpose to his glory.
Everlasting life, eternity.
And the key is, he doesn't make us do it.
Right.
And the whole deal is, gets back to the fact that he is glorious. So he's truth, and he wants everyone to be drawn to the truth. So unless we acknowledge the fact of his glory, we can't be in the truth.
Exactly.
That's good.
Mr. Hill.
Interesting thing I ran across, 1 Timothy 6, talking about slaves. It says in number 6:1, all who are under the yoke of slavery should consider their masters worthy of full respect, so that God's name and our teaching may not be slandered. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
That supports exactly the same thought mentality of what you're saying. So are we slaves to him?
We have supposedly made ourselves
We've been
slaves to
bought
him.
by a price.
We're bought by a price. He's our master.
He carries our yoke.
We're bond servants.
Exactly. We are bond servants. Thank you. Yeah, bond servants. Exactly. Okay. We're actually going to get to the Torah portion, I promise. Moving along in verse 16.
You should always say yea or nay.
We're going to get to the Torah portion eventually.
We're there.
Period. No add-ons. Okay, verse 16. Be careful, or you will be enticed to turn away and worship other gods and bow down to them. This is Deuteronomy 11. Verse 17. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will shut the heavens so that it will not rain, and the ground will yield no produce, and you will soon perish from the good land the Lord is giving you. Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds, tie them as symbols on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, talking about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children may be many in the land the Lord swore to give to your forefathers, as many as the days that the heavens are above the earth. I'm going to ask you the same question. Does that passage apply to us today? Good, thank you. Yes. And I would ask how so, but we've kind of already covered that. Because it applies to specific people in a specific place at a specific time. But also, it comes forward to all those, how's it you put it, Mel? All the whoever's, whosoever's? Whosoever's, all the whosoever's out there
John 3:16.
that say, hey, this is God. A couple of questions I want to ask you though. Let's see. Verse, 17, and he's going to shut the heavens, which goes right against what he said in verse 14. So the land will yield no produce, which goes right against what he said in verse 15. And you will soon perish, which goes the opposite of what he said in verse 15. Verse 18, fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds, tie them as symbols on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. What does that mean?
Learn them.
Learn. What else?
Keep
to keep them. What's that mean?
Because it's commandment. He wants a relationship.
Where does he say that? Where?
We don't want it to be broken.
How
He wants
does
a relationship.
a relationship and a robot, how's that have anything to do with each other?
Well, he gives us free will.
He gives us free will.
We choose.
We choose this day whom we will serve, right? We'll talk about that verse in a minute too, because I saw something this week that was different. So what does verse 18 mean? Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds, tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads.
Well, in some places in the Hebrew it says between your eyes. So
That's
I
part
think
that's
we
between
need
your
to
eyes.
Focus on it and to do it.
What about
Where the, what do they call that?
the phylacteries?
Yeah, phylactery.
Is that, I mean, that's like a literal, what this verse says. It says to wear them, right?
Teflon and
To fill them?
tefillin and,
Yeah. I don't know all the exact words.
yeah.
But what it, I mean, spiritually it means, when you wake up, you're thinking about it.
Mhm.
All during the day, you're thinking about it, and you're doing it. And when you go to sleep, you're thinking about it, and you're doing it. And then when you see your kids, you're going, you're gonna do this. This is awesome.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
says-
teach them
it
to your
says,
children.
"Send them and a blessing. The steps you walk are the ones they see and they bless."
And then when you call your friends, you're talking about
That's what it should be, right?
it. That's right.
But can it also be literal? I mean, or it's specific people, specific time, specific place. Or should we be wearing his words
In our heart.
in our hearts? Okay.
Melissa says that you can wear it too.
I'm going to say it one more time.
Melissa says that men should wear the tefillin, that they are commanded to do that, but.
Well, this is kind of this is in the commandment section of the Bible, right? Go to verse 20. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates. What does that mean?
Mezuzah.
Mezuzahs. How many in here have a mezuzah on their house? But yet you don't wear it to fill it.
Getting
Just a
there,
thought.
getting there.
Now, wait a minute.
Just
It
a thought.
says, write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. How many have actually written them on the door frames and on their gates? Or
Everybody
do you
hear
just
that
stick a
question?
mezuzah up there?
Well, you know, I wrote my own, but this is okay.
And are all the commands written on there, or is it just the Shema?
How many have?
How many what?
How many have written?
Like I say, just to make you think.
Basically saying that.
He's basically saying live it, exactly. Exactly.
It's the idea.
Live it. Because you can put a mezuzah on your door. You can write down Genesis 1:1 all the way through the end of Deuteronomy on a piece of paper, put it in a mezuzah, put it on your door. You can write it in small print all the way around the door frame of your house. You can go to the city line and put a stake in the ground with all this stuff on it. But if you don't do it, does it matter? Exactly. The key is living it. It's from the heart. It's the decisions that we make, what we're going to do with what we're given. Right? Okay. Which leads us actually to the Torah portion, believe it or not. Because, well, let's go verse 22. We'll just finish that little
Oh,
before we get to
sure.
verse 26. Verse 22. If you carefully observe all these commands I am giving you to follow. And again he says, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to hold fast to him. Then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will dispossess nations larger and stronger than you. Every place where you set your foot will be yours. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the Euphrates to the western sea. No man will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God, as he promised you, will put the terror and fear of you on the whole land, wherever you go. So another if-then. If you carefully observe all these commands, but what we have to make sure we don't do is, I'm going to observe these commands so I can beat up some people, so I can drive out nations. Because that's not what it's about. That's the result of being obedient. He's going to take care of the people who love him and who walk with him. Not just those who check off a box, a list of commands and things like that, right? Because all those who rely on observing the law are under a curse. But those who keep the commandments will be declared. So which is it? All those who rely on observing the law are under a curse.
No, it says here, if you're going after idols,
Paul says in Galatians, if you rely on observing the law, you're under a curse.
Yeah.
Which one of the laws is he talking about?
Law of sin and death.
Those who keep the commandments will be declared righteous. But in the next book, he says they won't. No one is justified by observing the law. Romans 2, Romans 3. So Paul's flip-flopping,
No.
talking about different laws.
Could be talking about different laws.
Talmudic.
Could be, but he's not.
The law of sin and death.
What's the law of sin and death?
No, keeping the commandments.
Keeping the commandments is a law of sin and death?
No, not, she said.
2 Peter 3,
Not
Connection between sin and death.
15.
2 Peter 3:15.
Paul also wrote to you with the wisdom of God that God gave him. He writes the same way in all his letters, speaking to them of these matters. His letters contain some things that are hard to understand, which ignorant, and unstable people distort, as they do the other scriptures to their own destruction. Therefore, dear friends, since you already know, be on your guard that you may not be carried away by the error of lawless men. So,
So why are Paul's things hard to understand? Remember when I was speaking last time, we looked at a particular verse in Romans chapter 7, verse 1?
Because he's speaking to those who understand the Torah.
yes.
You're
And you've got to understand there's the Torah,
There is.
and then there's the oral Torah,
There is.
which is all the stuff that they added to it.
But the same word for law is used in Romans 2 and Romans 3 and Galatians 3. Now remember, let me quote the verse again. All those who rely on observing the law are under a curse.
Ah,
Did
who
you hear the
rely?
key word? Rely on.
Yeah.
All those who
For salvation.
rely on
for salvation.
for salvation.
You mean
To receive, I'm going to do this, like get that.
the checkers.
The checkers. People who are doing a checklist. Romans 2 says those who keep the commandments will be declared righteous. Romans 3 says no one is justified by observing the law. Keeping and observing are two different things. That's homework for all of you, is to go look that up. Grab a Strong's, grab a Bible program, grab a whatever. Look at the difference in the verbs. Those who, let's see, no one will be declared righteous by observing the law. But those who keep the commandments are declared righteous.
But then in Deuteronomy 6:25, it also says it will be righteousness for us if we are careful to observe all these commandments before the Lord our God, just as he commanded us.
And Genesis 15:6 says, Abraham believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness.
So he knew the Torah too.
He just believed,
They had to know it.
so he's righteous for believing. Right?
Yeah.
So we just have to believe. We don't need to worry about all this stuff, what you just read.
But he observed them.
If we are careful to observe all these commandments.
But Abraham was righteous for believing.
Exactly.
What's it mean?
Yeah, he was,
We will get to the Torah portion
well,
of it.
but you said
For
he
sure.
was, because he believed in the righteousness, which we just go back there and it's defined for us, which means keeping those commandments.
Which was written first.
All of it? Well, we get to it in what is it, Deuteronomy 6:25, where it defines righteousness.
One definition of righteousness, not the first definition.
Isn't it the first?
Genesis 15 comes before Deuteronomy 6.
Okay. It shall
In
be-
my Bible,
I
anyway.
mean, it shall be righteousness.
Well,
What I'm trying to do is
Jack would have,
mess with your mind a little bit. Get you thinking, Jay.
don't need that today.
I've told this before, and I had this discussion even today. And part of this core portion is eating clean. And in here, many of us have eaten ham, bacon, we've enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And it's something that I can read that commandment and I can say, okay, he says not to do it, or I'm gonna go to hell.
We can't read it that way.
No.
We can read it and say that's a sin. And if you sin, you're gonna go to hell. And I don't wanna go to hell. Or I can read it and God tells me, do not eat this. And I can obey that, not for fear of going to hell, but to praise Him and glorify Him, because I want to show Him obedience and love. Because I know all the honey baked ham and it was good.
Yep.
May not have been good for me, and it wasn't what God told me to do. But for me, I enjoyed it. Now, and I could probably get another plate full, probably enjoy it, but I'd rather honor God.
Amen.
I'd rather show Him obedience. Not because I'm scared, but I want to show it to Him out of love and honor.
He says, this is how you love me.
So when you're talking about doing it as a checklist versus doing it out of love, I think that kind of...
That's exactly what it is. It's the heart. It's are you checking a list because if I do this, I get this. Or whatever you say, I will do.
Well,
Because you said it.
His commandments are to protect us.
Yeah.
They're a protection.
There's a reason we're not doing
Well, there is. Because He said don't do it.
Well, not only that.
You
it's
won't
not
argue?
good for us.
They're not good for you. They make you sick.
I know.
You know, you
Yeah.
have a heart attack, what's your doctor tell you? Quit eating pork.
When you were talking about Genesis 15:6, you saying that's like the first place you see righteousness?
That's like the first definition
But
that I found.
Are you 15:6?
Abraham believed God and it was declared to him as righteous.
Yeah,
He
but
was
it
credited to
doesn't-
him as righteousness.
Yeah, but that doesn't define righteousness.
define
It was declared to him, he believed, was declared to him. But if you go to Deuteronomy, I just think
I'm
this.
not arguing with you, Jim.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
as far as a definition of it, and it will
I'm on
be-
your team.
And it will be righteousness for us if we are careful to observe all His commandments. So it's really specifically there defining
The
righteousness for you.
definition, yeah.
But Yeshua is the end of the law for righteousness to those who believe.
Again, this is first, just before that.
Good.
I mean, I'm just saying, as far as, now, we've seen someone who was righteous first in Genesis 15, where we're given somebody who is righteous. I think it's important to be able to show them where the definition, and to me, that's the first definition of righteousness. And that's why it's,
What's what?
Verse 26.
Verse 26? There's something in verse 26.
what, in Deuteronomy?
In Deuteronomy 11.
Oh, in Deuteronomy 11, check. There's an implication there?
I think he's saying, speed it up, right? What are you bringing up here? Oh,
But then the second definition is gonna be in Deuteronomy 24:13. Interesting. When the sun goes down, you shall surely return the pledge to him, that he may sleep in his cloak and bless you. It will be righteousness for you before the Lord your God.
a lot of righteousness in there.
Yeah.
But the key is why. What decision are you making?
To love the Lord your
Because
God with
you-
all your heart, your soul, and your mind.
Have to make a decision. It gives us free will, like we've been talking about. It's not, we just do this and we do this and we do this and we do this. It's not the robot thing, like Linda mentioned. It's like Jay said, because it pleases Him, and that's what we want to do, because when we please Him, it glorifies Him. He sends blessings that we can please Him more, and we can glorify Him more, and draw people to Him, right? Okay. We have to wait just a little bit.
Morning.
I guess we still have to wait just a little bit.
Morning.
Okay.
Press stand back again to confirm.
Press okay to remove this
Okay,
warning.
to remove this warning.
Okay.
Okay. Not that was the okay button, but it made it go away, so. Let's see. All right. Deuteronomy 11:26. Now we'll get into the portion for the day. And we'll see how far we get, which probably won't be very far. Okay, so, verse 26. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. All the stuff before that's been talked about, he's been going over and saying, if, then, or if not, then, because it says when, he shuts the heavens and the ground produces no produce and you perish. See, I'm setting before you today a blessing and a curse. And think about that for a second. Going off, Jay, where you're talking about honey baked ham. If you walk to the buffet line and there's honey baked ham and roast beef, what do?
You choose roast beef.
You choose. Right? They're both in front of you. It's your choice. You have complete free will to do whichever you want. You choose the roast beef based on what? What was that, Ed? One more time? Blessing. Blessing or a curse. You have a choice. All right, let's see if this is long enough now. Must be.
And actually, what somebody else said was instructions, because you're given instructions as to blessing and cursing.
You're given instructions as a blessing and cursing. Yeah, you're
so
given,
based on the
because
instructions.
he just laid out up here above some blessings. Would you say that? Yes or no? Those verses we just read.
If the Baptist said that the prayer blesses it all and I can eat it all, then why are you being picky over the deep fat fried buzzard, the deep fat fried bat and bugs? Don't pick off the sheet and get what you want, okay?
But we are a menu-oriented society.
Yes, we are.
One from
love
column
to
A
have our
and
choices.
two from column B.
One moment, please. I think I turned the computer back on.
Uh-oh.
It probably went to sleep.
You went to sleep, huh? As long as we didn't go to sleep.
You read a verse earlier, Exodus 15:26. If you will diligently, okay, I think that's what we're talking about, okay, acknowledging Him and living without the idols, whatever that's going to be, and showing honor to Him for that.
Diligently, yeah. Okay. I warned you, I was going to put this up a lot, right? We've seen this before. We have a decision to make. Deuteronomy 30:19. I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. That's what just happened right here in verse 26. Therefore choose life that you and your descendants both may live, or you and your descendants may live. Matthew 12:30. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. Because you're either on one side or you're on the other side. Yes, no.
Yes.
Or you're firmly planted on both sides of the fence, not sure what to do.
You can't run with the devil and walk with God.
True. Can't straddle the fence and not get hurt. Because you're going to slip somewhere. Jay.
One of the things that took me a long time in life to actually understand white and gray and darkness and straddling the line is an acceptance of darkness.
That's right.
Maybe a little, maybe a whole lot, but any time that you are willing to take gray, you're willing to accept a certain amount of wrong.
That's right. Remember the video last time with the poop brownies?
Church to gray.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you take that little bit of gray, you've accepted. If
I didn't even
you
taste
made
it.
your white gray, you've accepted some darkness. Okay, let's see. What I did was just kind of broke this down. Well, that's what I was going to tell you right from the first. God gets in our face today. That was like, okay, never mind. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. And the way this breaks down, behold, I set before you this day. See, I give to your face today. Ra'ah anoki natan panim yom. I put it right in your face. There's no, you can't say, oh, I missed it. I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention. We've talked about that in here before. Pay attention.
It wasn't hidden.
Wasn't hidden. And for those keeping notes at home, behold, the first time it's used, Genesis 1:4. These are all first uses of those particular Hebrew words. And then just some extra, some other ones along the same line there. Yes? Just for your information, I don't think we'll go through those. We'll skip right on by that. Because it really is kind of interesting, a lot of those. Since we don't have a whole lot of time. Okay, blessing and a curse. See, I put in your face today a blessing and a curse. Blessing, the word barakah, by implication prosperity, a benediction. First place it appears is Genesis 12, verse 2. I just want to read that verse to you. Because we know that the first time something appears, a word appears, it gives us kind of an indication of what it's going to look like as we go through Scripture. Genesis 12, the Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. You will be a barakah. You will be barakah when you're made into a great nation. So the root word here, barak, is used in Genesis 12:2. It says, I will bless you. That's the action, the verb. And barakah is like the noun. You will be a blessing. So the root is to kneel, to bless God and man, vice versa. Which we've been talking about that. He gives us a blessing so we can praise Him, glorify Him, so that He can provide more blessings for more glory to bring people to Him. Kind of a two-way street, I guess, would be one way to put it. Okay, so blessing. To kneel before Him, to humble yourselves. If my people called by my name will humble themselves, it's not about us, it's about Him. Curse, vilification, and I didn't even try to find that word in the dictionary because that's a big long word. But comes from the root to make light or easy or trifling. Kind of the picture I got in my mind, I don't know if it's an accurate picture, but whatever. Make light of something.
Can I get a blessing if I sneeze?
I don't know, can you?
If someone around you is polite.
We say cleanse you nowadays. It'll bless you.